So yeah, in case you guys want to refer back to anything regarding the webinar, you can always go back to the link. We'll publicize it through the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center, various media channels, and we will be sure to get you the content if that's something that you've missed. So we're very excited. This is Digital Literacy 101, part 1 of a 3 series. And the next ones that we are going to be doing is the next 2 Wednesdays coming up, where we're going to be going a little bit more in depth into how to post engaging content on social media and how to strategically boost and advertise on social media as well. Okay, great. I see Mr. Jimmy Valen joining, and then we're going to get started. Awesome. Colin and Lori, hi, how are you? Not too sure if you guys remember me. It's Giuseppe from Niagara Falls School of Drama. Big shout out to Colin and Lori. I hope you guys are doing well. And yeah, I'm very excited to get this going. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, yes, we're gonna dive into everything. It is 103. How the structure of this entire webinar is going to run is we're going to go through all of the content at first. If you are just new here, you feel free to jump in with any sort of questions that you may have located in the chat option right in the center of this Zoom screen below. And then afterwards, the floor will be open to any sort of conversation for questions, answers, or anything that you may want to learn more of over the course of the presentation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. I'm just going to share the screen right now. Oh, we have Michelle joining too. Perfect. Just gonna here. Okay, great. Okay, and we're just going to share the screen right now. Michelle, welcome to Digital Literacy 101. Okay. Just going to share the screen now with everyone. You should all be able to see. Perfect. Great, great. Okay, everyone, welcome to Digital Literacy 101, building sustainable social media skills for your business now and for the future. Today we are going to be going over steps of branding and social media setup for how to actually launch your business, how to launch a brand, or how to launch anything that you are passionate about. The best thing about living in today's digital age is that we literally have access to making a full-time career right from the comfort of your cell phone, which is absolutely phenomenal. So before we dive into this, we just want to give a quick background on ourselves. My name is Matt Anthony. I am a digital service squad coordinator here with the city of Niagara Falls. I am an entertainment entrepreneur currently operating my own social media management and talent management company called Invitco, where I represent a few social media influencers, celebrities, and I help negotiate various brand deals. I also operate social media pages for various local business, some tourism conglomerates, and various community channels. In my off time, I like to spend time with my friends. I love learning about business. I love growing as an individual, and I love furthering myself as a personal entertainer and personal brand in any way that I can. You can also find me playing within the rock and roll band Revive the Rose, which is a local band here from the area that is currently working alongside the Trues in the NHL 2021 video game. And yeah, I'm very excited to dive into this. And I think we're all going to have a great time. And I'm going to pass things off now to my very talented colleague. And I swear we didn't plan this matching shirt and turtleneck game, but I'm going to introduce Umberto for him to tell him a little bit more about himself, and then we'll dive right into the presentation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Umberto. I am the other Digital Service Squad coordinator here with the City of Niagara Falls. Primarily what we do here with the Digital Service Squad is things such as this, where we can provide small helpful tips, DIY tutorials, and any bits of information that helps small and medium-sized businesses make a kind of a transition from a typical brick and mortar style business to a digital landscape. I've been with the city of Niagara Falls in this position for the last few months, maybe five or 6 months now. And prior to that, I was with the Falls View Group Hotel Company, serving as the digital marketing manager for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as well as the Niagara Falls Fun Zone. So I have a little bit of a background already in social media and digital marketing, and it's been a pleasure to meet so many small business owners such as yourself in the last few months and get more acquainted with everyone in Niagara Falls. I'm also just finishing up my BBA in marketing specialization and business administration at Brock University. So I'm really happy to be here with everyone and be able to share a little bit of what I've learned recently and in the past to help any business owners who might find some value from it.
What an intro, eh? So well spoken. You're great. Awesome. Awesome. So such a great introduction. Thank you, MB. Okay, so let's dive into it. We are going to hit the next slide here. Just excuse me for some of the technical difficulty. Okay, great. Awesome. So with getting it, so what we're going to discuss is we're going to go over the differences between various files that can be utilized for posting when it comes to anything to do with social media. And this is a very, very small detail, but trust me when I say it goes and it plays a large part in a big way when it comes to keeping your content consistent, clear, and concise across all your social media channels. So we're gonna dive into the differences between a JPEG, a PDF, and a PNG file. Next, we're going to be diving into which platforms should you be on based on your business clientele. With that being said, for those of you who own restaurants here, who is your ideal demographic? Who is your ideal target market? Who is your most idealistic customer, and what platforms are those customers on? Those are the platforms that you should be on, and we're going to provide you tips and exercises on how we can actually go into that to identify who your most idealistic customer is. We're going to touch on the topic of an infinity list. An infinity list is a list of the 25 brands that associate with your most idealistic customer. So we're going to talk about that based on which platforms you should be on, all dependent on the types of businesses that you operate. And this is going to vary for everyone here, whether you operate an acting school, whether you're a visual artist, whether you're a talent writer. It varies all very much so. Next, we're going to be discussing how to post on your Instagram story and as well as the newsfeed. Instagram is one of the fastest and most popular platforms right now. And if you are currently not on Instagram, this is something that you should very, very much consider, as well as TikTok. We have a great video presentation to talk about TikTok later on, but I think you'll find some extreme benefit with that. When it comes to posting in the story and posting on the newsfeed, Instagram is definitely somewhere where you would like to be. Following that, we're going to be diving into the functionalities and differences between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We're going to go into all the various functions, the key elements as to what you can take away from them, and their best applicable uses based on your business and who your ideal demographic is in regarding that. So to get things started, let's dive into the next slide. Okay, so let's create a brand. What are the first steps for creating a brand? What resources are available to you? How expensive will this be? These are all very, very, very good things to keep in mind when it comes to creating a brand. And just a reminder for those of you who have just joined, if you are looking to if you're looking to ask any questions, just please feel free to place them in the chat below. and we will answer them accordingly, throughout the presentation. Excuse me. Okay, so let's create a brand. So what are our first steps when it comes to creating a brand? The first thing that you want to do when creating a brand is you want to think of automatically, your brain should automatically go to one website. And does anyone know what that website is when you're thinking about creating a brand? Does anyone know what that website is? You want to have this specific website in mind when it comes to creating a brand. Feel free to just jump in or ask if you'd like. And if not, that's totally okay. You got anything in the chat? Oh, what? GoDaddy. That's right. Who said that in the chat? Bobby. Shout out Bobby. Yes, GoDaddy is the #1 place you want to go when it comes to creating a brand. So what are the first steps? The first steps is that you want to check to make sure that your domain, the domain acts here in this sense as, for lack of a better term, your intellectual property and your handle online that no one can take away from once it's already purchased. So for example, if Sarah Lou Stewart here with her incredible art pieces wants to launch her official art brand of Sarah Lou Stewart on here, she should go to GoDaddy and type in sarahloustewart.com to see if that domain is available by chance. Now, the best thing to also keep in mind is you always want to go for a .com purchase before a .ca purchase. Reason being, .coms are a lot more they're easier for people to recognize. There adds a little bit more of legitimacy. Same with .ca too, of course. That's more of a preference on your end, but if you do have the option, we would definitely recommend looking into a .com version of whatever it is that you're looking to exercise. But now, say if you're looking to launch a brand within your brand, or you're having like a subcategory when it comes to this, is, say for example, my company is Invitco, and I want to launch my personal brand as Matt Anthony, as the entertainer with that. I would be able to have linked through my website channels, both my Matt Anthony website and my Invitco website together under the same umbrella. So those are just some things to keep in mind when it comes to creating your first steps. Is you want to go to GoDaddy. You want to make sure that your domain is purchased, and you can get them for fairly inexpensive too as well. The more original it is, the typically the cheaper your domain handle will be, and then following that, you'll be able to access your domain. With your domain access now comes to creating a website. This is where we go into, so step 1, domain. Step 2 is you're going to look at various hosting of your website. And depending on the type of website that you want to utilize, this is where you'll look at various hosting platforms like Wix, WordPress, our favorite, Webflow, or if you're looking to do any sort of purchasing or online platform buying, if you're an e-commerce store, you want to look at maybe a Shopify account where you can actually have the ability to sell tangible products, or services available on there too as well. So step 1, domain. Step 2, hosting. And then that brings us to step 2 on this brand, is what resources here are available. Now that you have your domain and your hosting, it's time to establish the fundamental foundations of your business. And does anyone know what some of the fundamental foundations of the business will be? Go ahead, you can post it in the chat, or you can just call it out right here. Well, we would love to make some friends and engage with people. So absolutely, if you guys have any sort of idea, that'd be great. We got anything in the chat? Okay. Google AdSense, yes, very good. I would say to start off with that is you want to establish a logo. And a logo goes very, very much inclined with your brand identity. So having a strong logo, your strong domain purchased, and the logo, imagine the logo is like the visual embodiment of whatever it is that your brand stands for. People should be able to look at your logo or your typeface logo. Typeface logo just means it's a word logo. So like my company is just Invitco. We just have like a specific font for Invitco with a like an orangey yellowish dot, and that's our logo. So people should be able to look at your logo and be able to identify what type of brand your brand is. So that's going to be different for, obviously, if you have a restaurant, if you're an artist, if you're a landscaper, if you do anything in the creative space, that should kind of just tell the story with that. So with the resources that are available to you, with that, we're going to dive into this a little bit later in the presentation. There's great resources such as Canva, such as TaylorMade Brands, and such as Photoshop that are all readily available for you to go ahead and explore your visual creation of logo creation when it comes to that. So the resources that are available are various local marketing agencies, the outlets that I just mentioned. And then with that being said, is now you want to see how expensive all of this is going to cost. So if you have your domain, if you have your hosting, if you have your logo, next what you want to do, sorry, I probably should have touched on this, is you want to secure, based on where your audience is, and we'll get into that, is your social media handles. You should be able to keep your social media handles the exact same, best case scenario, because some social media the handles are taken more so than others. Keep them uniform and the exact same. So you should have the same name that you have on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. So how expensive will all this be? GoDaddy, depending on the handle you're looking at, it really depends. Honestly, it really depends on the handle. Depends if you're buying a .com or a .ca. There's also options on there if your name is taken that you can actually negotiate with GoDaddy themselves to purchase your brand handle. Also, if you take advantage of resources like the Digital Main Street program, which is something that Umberto and I are working alongside the city to help small business owners, creatives, entrepreneurs, various go-getters, just like every single person in this webinar. They provide hands-on marketing assistance to get you set up with social media management, strategic social media development, and as well website assistance for whatever it is need be. So if you guys are looking for maybe some in-depth quotes or a little bit further detail of how expensive launching a brand could be, you can feel free to send us a message in the chat, and we will be able to help facilitate that with you as well. Okay, let's dive into the next one. Okay, you want to take us over here for first steps? Okay, great.
All right, guys. So Matt's done a great job of giving us a bit of an intro on some things where you should be thinking about, where your head should be at in terms of establishing your brand, some first pivotal points and decisions to make. And a great thing that he alluded to that I think is important to recognize is .ca is related to Canadian websites usually, and .com more so to American. And both look very professional, but something that you might want to think about is if you are going to be selling a lot of products to an American customer, you're going to be doing a lot of business with American customers, they tend to resonate well with a .com website because it's what they're used to seeing. So having something like .com might look a little bit more legitimate, might look a little bit more familiar to a consumer in the United States versus in Canada. Again, both, if you're able to get your handle, are great options, and they're going to be able to support your website the same way. So first steps here, we've kind of already touched on some things, but let's get into it with GoDaddy and whatever else. So the first steps of solidifying your brand name and website domain. So when you're selecting your brand or business name, it's a good practice, as Matt has already mentioned, to look on your GoDaddy, to look on your social media channels such as Facebook and Instagram to see availability. So things that are good to keep in mind here with handles is you want something to be uniform on all of your platforms. So someone looking to find your website, whether it be from Facebook or Instagram, or even search it up online, knows what to look for, and knows what to type in on the search bar. So if we were going to,
We actually had someone ask, what if .com or .ca wasn't available?
sure thing.
They had to use .org.
Yeah, great question in the chat room here. So what if .com or .ca isn't available? That is a good problem to run into, in the sense where you're probably looking for a domain that has a little bit of awareness around it, and someone's already had a good idea around it. So it's not a terrible problem. .org or .net even is still a perfectly good solution to launch your website with. We typically like to stick towards .ca and .com just for the purpose of what we were mentioning with familiarity with people and kind of staying in the mainstream element. It's just easy for people to remember. I know when I think of a website, a lot of the time I might think of the name and say, oh, it was .com or .ca, and that's kind of your first thought. So it's not a bad thing by any means if you do use .org. It's just something that you'll really want to hammer across all of your platforms and every advertising point, that this is your website at this address. But it doesn't take away from any types of credibility or the professional look of your website. It's just a little bit of a different address to be hosted on. Great question. Thank you for bringing that up in the chat as well. So when you're checking on your handles across each platform and you want to see if something is available, this is kind of what you can relate to as in the modern day now as your real estate for your business. So if you were going to buy a property in a great spot somewhere in the city, you want to put your storefront there, that is the equivalent to buying a great handle or using a great handle or thinking of one in the digital landscape. So if you come up with something creative, one word, for example, like, at Rapper, if you're launching a snack bar or something like that and it's available, you could see how that clean one word handle name could be very valuable online because it is fresh, it's original, and it's not very long or something that you need to think of. And it looks like, it could be associated with a large brand or something larger than life, such as your business. So that's a good kind of analogy to start of thinking of two different ways where real estate can kind of translate in a digital landscape, and your website can even act as your digital storefront or your digital first impression of your business, as opposed to having the brick and mortar aspect in real life. So moving into this next slide here, we're going to talk a little bit more about what Matt already brought some attention to, your logo. That is obviously so important. And it's something that in the process, you can really get stuck up on and hung up on when you're looking to develop your brand. Everyone has a perfect idea sometimes, or a strong idea of what they think their logo should look like or how they feel it should communicate with the consumer. But it's so hard a lot of the time to actually bring that vision to life in a digital sense, in the design process. And that's where it's good to, when you don't have the expertise or maybe the design skill yourself, to tap on someone's shoulders, such as an agency or a free software, to get a little bit of help with something like this. Matt had mentioned some great free resources and some great paid resources that are available to someone looking to launch a business with their logo, or any brand, for example, with a new logo. Taylor Brands is an awesome website where you can kind of plug in your ideas, plug in your verbal thoughts to their generator, their AI generator, and they're going to spit out different versions of what you're looking for or what you might be interested in for your logo. So when we go on Taylor Brands, it's going to ask you a series of questions, kind of like a vetting process. What kind of business are you? Are you a restaurant? Are you in general retail? Are you selling clothes? The name of your business, for example, and are you more interested in a typeface or an icon logo, or one or the other? And from there, it's going to shoot you out options that it's actually generated for you that are going to give you some different looks of how your business can look. Sometimes these might not be exactly what you're looking for or a final product, but they're a great first step to start getting the ball rolling in your mind as to what is available. Moving into Fiverr, you're dealing in a little bit of a different landscape here. So Fiverr is actually an awesome online marketplace that connects you with digital designers and graphic designers who create the logo for you. These can range anywhere for as low as $25 to up to $100 Canadian or more. And it really varies based on the project specifics that you're looking for. And the way this works is you're going to be entering a digital marketplace. You can kind of think of something like Amazon, for example, where there's different services listed for different people. And what you're going to do is you're going to press on a listing that's offering something along the lines of, I'll design a logo for you, or I'll give you 2 or 3 options for a logo, and I'll send it to you that way. So once you connect with this person, you press on their listing, you type in the details or the idea you have for their logo, for your logo, and they will actually, in about a day or 2 or 3, send you back versions of your logo or a couple variations, which usually include 2 or 3 edits on your end to kind of make some tweaks. So this is an example of actually hiring an agency online and getting them to build the logo for you in a way that's a little bit more participative and you have some say. The final one that we've listed here is Canva. And Canva is an awesome online resource, sometimes free, but also a paid option if you're looking to get into it a little bit further, that lets you design the logo yourself. So you're gonna have an easy drag and drop interface here in Canva, something along the lines of what you're used to seeing maybe in PowerPoint or even Microsoft Word, where you can move items around, you can move text around the page, and actually create your own logo here. Now, this might be a little bit of a daunting process if you are not having a design background or even too much experience with using online softwares. But if you have some time or if you have a specific vision that you really want to play with yourself, Canva is a great option and a great tool where you can go in, create the logo yourself, or even maybe create a first draft of the logo that you can bring to a final designer to polish at the end. And on the other side of the screen there, you're going to see kind of what we talked about with Fiverr, right? So hiring a graphic designer. There's so many talented, great digital agencies here in Niagara, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and beyond that have skilled graphic designers that you can hire, contract out for the purpose of your logo, and kind of communicate with them in a more humane way, or an email or on a call right now anyway, and tell them exactly what you're looking for, and they're going to send you back hopefully a few different options for your logo where you're kind of leaving that to the professional and really getting back a clean cut, ready to launch logo option.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Umbi. Next, we are going to dive into the files. If you'd like to dive into the different files, this is a very good resource. This is going to be super knowledgeable for anyone who is that's posting on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, LinkedIn. There's a lot of great information here. So Umbi, I'll let you go ahead and take this one away.
Awesome. So different file types. This is a little bit more of the technical side of this presentation, and I can promise this is as far into the nitty-gritty, if you will, that we're going to be going in this first installment of digital literacy. But this is something great to get out of the way and build as a foundation real early in the process of your business. And the purpose for this is when you're sent that initial logo, as we just spoke of, when you're building your brand and you're getting that first logo done, you're often going to raise this question with the designer or whoever you're working with. What type of logo files are you going to need? And the way you can kind of think of the different files is in a translatable way for where are you going to be putting your logo. So some of the files listed below are best for and more inclined for print, versus some are better displayed on web, and some are even better for small little icons such as your Instagram display profile photo, where it's hard to have a really clear-cut, strong image. And it's really important to use the proper file to have that included. So let's hop into the below items here. Something you guys have probably heard of before, the first two, a PNG file. So what is a PNG file and how does it really benefit versus any other one? So with a PNG file, you're gonna get minimum compression loss, meaning that when you're saving this and if you're stretching it out or using it for different sizes on a website, or again in a display image for Facebook or Instagram, these files usually hold their contents pretty well, and you can kind of stretch them out a little bit without seeing a lot of blurriness or a lot of pixelation in that. And secondly, they tend to hold colors very well as well. So when you're designing a beautiful logo with, maybe a beautiful foreign bird is in it, and it has greens and blues and reds and all these colors, it's going to hold on to those colors pretty strong when you translate it across the web or even in print sometimes. And it's going to hold those colors in a way that you're going to like to see them in the future. A JPEG file is a little bit different in the sense that it is compatible with a couple more different versions of browsers and a couple more different platforms. And it's great to show on computers, tablets, mobile as well, just as the PNG. A lot of websites, when you're uploading your files, they tend to ask for PNGs or JPEGs, typically one of the two. So sometimes you might take a photo on your iPhone, for example, and they've recently switched to a new file that is called .heisc. And that is actually just a different way to keep more information and more data in a smaller file for iPhone and Apple products. But you might be looking to upload it to your WordPress website and it's not taking it because it's requesting a JPEG. So that's an opportunity there where you're going to want to make or search up online file translator or transfer between JPEG to another, or HEISC, like I was saying, to another file. And these are free online resources that you kind of just key in on Google to kind of change your file from one to another, and they'll compress it and do it for you and shoot you back out a new option. Another great part of the PNG file that's really important that I'd like to highlight is when you're looking for that nice transparent background logo. So you might have a logo that has a white or black background with some nice colors and a great centerpiece with it. But when you're looking to translate that on print or on a poster, for example, that has a different colored background, you're going to want to use a PNG file that has a transparent background in it. So if I can draw your attention to the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise logo in the top right, typically this might have a white background or a blue background, even though this presentation is blue, behind this logo. But to do what we've done here with laying the logo over the presentation so you can still read it, you can still see the Small Business Enterprise Center version and verbiage in the top of the arch, that's what we do with a PNG file where the back is transparent, but the main contents is still visible in the photo. And we can dive a little bit further into that with some questions after as well, because I know that's something that I've entertained quite a lot working with small businesses up to this point. And just quickly to round this this portion off, guys, a PDF file is something you kind of think of more in a formal manner, and a lot of times you're associating it with print. So PDF is great because you're able to include things such as like a hyperlink that's clickable in your photo. So if you were to give a presentation or send someone a document, you can link something in the PDF file that they can actually press to go to another version. And it's also something for security purposes that you can lock with a password. So you can kind of protect it, and if you want only certain eyes to be able to see it. And finally, the last version is something that we tend to get a lot of questions here with small businesses as well, as an SVG or a vector file. You're not going to be coming across vector files too often unless you're in a design kind of business or have a graphic design background. But the best thing about a vector file is scalability. You can stretch these, you can make them as small as you want, and they're going to maintain their contents most of the time in a perfectly clear manner. So print is a large example of this. When you're taking your logo and you want to print billboards or print signs if you're in real estate, or print leaflets if you're looking to do door-to-door advertising, you're going to want a lot of the time to include an SVG file of your logo to your designer, so they can use this logo to stretch it to whatever size that you're going to be printing, whether it be on a big banner or a smaller little leaflet again. Your SVG file is going to maintain quality, it's going to maintain its clear, crisp look, and it's going to avoid all of that pixelated kind of fuzziness that we hate to see when we're looking at design.
Great. Thanks, Umbi. So going off that, for those of you who are ever looking to get things printed, business cards, remember PDF file when it comes to print, that's the way to go. If you're looking for anything to do with print, PDF is the way to go. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about keeping the brand uniform. So keeping the brand uniform, or a uniformity, is that it stays the exact same. If people were to go search you up on Google, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Clubhouse, there are so many apps out there right now. But like I said, we're going to identify where your key target market audience is and then go from there. But keeping the brand uniform, one example of this is when you set up your Facebook, your Twitter, and your Instagram, for example. That's kind of like the main three. You want to make sure that your logo and your profile picture, your display picture, your bio, your contact information is the exact same on all platforms. Because when people go to search you up on maybe someone's searching you up for the very first time, if they see that you have a different picture on your Facebook page as opposed to your Instagram, or if you have a different picture on your on Google as opposed to Twitter, then people are going to be, is this the same brand? Is this the same company? I'm not entirely too sure. So that is just something to keep in mind when you are launching your brand, is that you want to make sure that your social media channels stay uniform throughout the whole time. And that's a very, very important thing. And that should be done consistently. And you only got to do it once, unless if you are doing a rebrand or you're doing a reinvention of maybe a new season or like a new series or a new revamp of your logo, then everything, once you change one platform, everything else should be changed alongside with it too as well. Okay, perfect. So how do we identify your audience? We're getting into the good stuff now, guys. We're getting real into it. Okay, this is some really great stuff that we're going to be diving into. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, these are going to be the primary ones that we're going to be focusing on. We do have, if we do have time, we have a great TikTok video presentation. Fun fact, TikTok is the fastest growing social media app right now on the planet, and it is expected, excuse my words, is expected to surpass Facebook in terms of popularity. I think there's over 1 billion, right? So 1 billion or something, users down already, whereas Facebook has been around for years. So let's identify who your ideal audience is and what platforms you should be based on. So for example, if you know that your most idealistic client is 30 years above age, you probably want to be on Facebook. I'm sure everyone's probably heard the term that, oh, Facebook's for old people now. Facebook's for old people. That is not entirely true, because Facebook also owns Instagram. We're going to get to that too in a second. But Facebook is a way where a lot of adults consume their content. So if your primary audience is 30 years of age and above, you definitely want to consider being on Facebook to market your business. If your ideal target demographic of your audience is on Instagram and is on Instagram, they are typically under the age of 30. Though that is probably the platform that they are utilizing the most, besides Snapchat and TikTok. Instagram is definitely the way to go. For example, I'm now working with, and I'm not too sure if Debbie is here in the Miss Debbie Thatcher is here in this webinar. But I'm currently representing this phenomenal group of content creators located here in Niagara Falls, and the primary channels that they utilize, their ideal demographic is ages 14 to 18, mostly women. They're only on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, because that's the way that they scale. They're the people who are identifying or watching their content are not 30 plus. And if they are, that's great, but we're capitalizing on those content. So it's just being able to identify who consumes your content. That is the platform you want to be on. Twitter is more for your personal brand, and it's very news oriented. When people see, you probably hear this, oh my gosh, it's trending on Twitter. Elon Musk just tweeted about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or Dogecoin. Oh, it's trending on Twitter. That is because Twitter is a place for it's more so developed a place for political news awareness and personal brand attention. So if you want to post your opinions, thoughts about certain articles that you've read, yourself as a person, it's more of like a very quick snippet uh, 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 outlet for you to just kind of release your thoughts about the various things that you want to talk about with anyone. So in terms of you being a business, I would say it's dependent on your business and dependent if your demographic is utilizing TikTok. I would say for anyone who has a brand that's more so on the personal side of things, like a visual artist, a content creator, I would highly suggest looking into Twitter to see if that is something that you'll have success with that. Moving on over to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, in my opinion, is that everyone should be on LinkedIn no matter what, because it's a perfect, it almost has this like certain level of eliteness or professionalism, is that when you are on the platform, you are there to network and to showcase what you do with other people in your respective fields. For example, great story, love telling it. I developed a relationship with this brand new record label executive, Big Noise Records. Check them out, awesome. They just signed a song with Avril Lavigne and a great new pop punk artist. I have been looking to try to find a relationship to introduce myself to someone at the label or someone at the studio that I could do this with. So what I did is I literally went onto my LinkedIn account. I searched up Big Noise to see if I could find anyone. I saw that someone was there. I just shot them a message, say, hey, I'm a talent manager here from Canada. These are some of the clients I represent. Would love to talk more about you. And I got a message back saying, you know what, Matt, thanks so much for reaching out. Next time you're in Los Angeles, come by the studio and let's talk. It just goes to show that the power of being on LinkedIn, having a professional, clean cut, and virtually super modern looking profile can really lead you to developing online relationships that maybe you never thought were possible. So I would highly recommend that if you all are not on LinkedIn as a personal brand, if you all and majority of all of us are in here are entrepreneurs or creators in their own right, would highly recommend being on LinkedIn. So next, this is just, I'm gonna take credit for this one, for this thing. Obviously, somebody saying like, man, I like that. Did you know that Facebook owns Instagram? And did you know that if you treat your Facebook or your Instagram stories, because you can post on stories on both platforms now, which is Facebook and Instagram, you want to treat your Instagram stories as your what's happening in your daily life, and you want to treat your news feed as sort of the what do you want the masses to see? What do you want everyone to see? What are you going to be okay with everyone seeing? So just to shed some light on this, the analogy that we use is Facebook and Instagram stories are the trailer of the movie you're about to watch. And Facebook and Instagram newsfeed posts is the main program on the big screen. So picture this as a way to keep your audience engaged. For example, Ashley Candace is in here, phenomenal artist. If you guys don't know who she is, please check her out. She hosts various paint night events, and for a tip that she could utilize is when she's posting her paint nights, and I'm sure she probably already does this, is you can actually post maybe like the day of on your Instagram story saying, hey guys, it's Ashley here, just getting ready for my paint night tonight at 7 p.m. I hope to see you there. If you post that at 10 a.m. in the morning, someone might click the Instagram story, send a message to Ashley and be like, I wonder if there's another spot available. Oh no, I didn't know that was happening today. So Instagram stories set as like a daily reminder of the things that you have already had people wanting to see on your newsfeed. It acts as a great resource for promoting products, promoting daily specials, and you can actually track to see who views your content. As long as you just swipe up, you're able to see who actually views your Instagram stories. In terms of the amount of posting, I would highly recommend posting anywhere between minimum 1 to 3 times a day. And the reason why you want to do that is you don't want to over bombard people with stories. If I see a story that's like this long, it's like, oh my gosh, like this better be the most interesting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Or if it's short and it's more concise, and the content is engaging, maybe you have like a little questionnaire box. Maybe you're talking about what you're doing in the day. Maybe you want to ask a question to your audience. What do you guys think about this? What are your thoughts are with this? As long as you have that content up there consistently, people will refer back to your stories and watch it as the prelude to your television program. That's the best way that I can describe it. Okay, we got some things going on in the chat. What do we got going on in the chat right now?
Yeah, so Melissa has asked a great question in the chat here, and she said, what's the best way to connect with businesses that are on social media? A doctor's office, or that aren't on social media, I should say. You know, a doctor's office, public services. And this is a great question. Obviously, not everyone is on their phones all the time. Not everyone is on the same level of par of using social media platforms or even the internet in the same way. You know, it's still a developing process, and everyone's kind of at their own chapter and their own pace. For the purpose of this presentation, you know, we're going to primarily stick to digital marketing and social media and stuff on the web. But some great things to think about for some more physical guerrilla marketing or in-your-face marketing that you can think of is brand placement and brand awareness. So for print, for example, if you're able to pay for a spot in a local newspaper or a local magazine that goes out and might be hosted at a doctor's office, for example, something you read while you're waiting. That's a great way to get your brand in front of someone who isn't on their phone or isn't on social media per se, but you're still hitting a point of resonation with them. Another good example of this is sometimes grocery stores will run, or media agencies will team up with grocery stores to run placements on their bags, for example, the big bags that you carry home with you and you keep and you bring to the grocery store. That's a great way to get your brand in a place where they're going to see it quite constantly. They hold on to that. It's not thrown out. And it's an awesome way to kind of have another point of resonation where they're going to be seeing and getting a point of communication with your brand on a constant basis where it's going to resonate with them. Michael Warshala in the chat, the Economic Development Officer for the Small Business Enterprise Center, great to have you here, Michael, has just asked, what are the next big or up and coming social media platforms that could be useful or business? And I see Matt has got excited at the question. So Matt, let's hear your thoughts.
TikTok. TikTok is the newest and fastest growing one that you definitely want to be on. 100%, no problem. TikTok, I'm not too sure if you guys knew this. TikTok is the only app that has the fastest organic reach out of every other platform in the world right now, which means an organic reach means that has a chance of just catching a lot of natural attention without any sort of paid advertisement whatsoever once a post has been made. So TikTok is really a place where you can dive into your full-fledged creative headspace for your business in any way, shape, or form, because you have the ability to reach so many people so easily. So Michael, great question. Yes, TikTok is definitely something that you definitely want to be on. I would highly recommend doing that. And then just to sum up our Instagram stories, for those of you who may not know, is Instagram stories are only up for 24 hours, and it's a great tool to catch immediate attention. We want to leave the floor open for questions. We do have about 10 minutes left or so, so we're going to move on to the next section of the webinar. Oh, there we go. So the Instagram newsfeed, like I had already mentioned, because I kind of went on a tangent, I have the ability to do that sometimes, is you want to go on to your Instagram newsfeed. So what your Instagram newsfeed is, the main points that your audience wants to see. You want to make sure you're utilizing photos in the right sizes. So this goes back to what Umberto was talking about when it comes to the JPEG, PNG, PDF, or a vector file. You want to make sure that you're utilizing this. We're also going to be showing you a case study in just one moment of how an Instagram feed looks like. You want to make sure that your images are clear, not pixelated, and not blurry. As soon as if I was a customer and I'm looking to buy something from a restaurant per se, and I notice that the photos are blurry and they're grainy, for me, or maybe for the average consumer, that may show them that maybe they don't really take care of what they're doing, or that doesn't really necessarily reflect the best sort of representation of what their product is. So whatever you do, when it comes to posting, you want to make sure that your images are clear and concise. Okay, we're wrapping up near towards the end of the presentation here, so we're gonna go through this case study here. This is a client of ours. They are called Mama's Boys. They are located in Welland on First Avenue. If you guys haven't had the chance to check them out yet, if you're into great pub food, would highly recommend, absolutely, for sure. Been working with them since about like September or so, in September of 2020, and we've had a 60% follower increase so far, since this present time in 2021. So we're just kind of going to go over how the brand identity kind of plays out with everything by actually analyzing their Instagram news feed. So we're just going to go to the Instagram account, and then we're gonna make it happen. Okay. Can you still see the screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So this is Mama's Boys Pub and Eatery here. So as you can see, the account has just shy of 1,815 followers. They are located here. Notice the bio is super clean and concise. You know exactly what it is right before they're getting into it. This highlighted circle here means that the story was posted, because I posted a story on them today, and I post a story. I post a story every day when it comes to them. Family-owned restaurant establishment, established 2004. With the eye emoji logo, you can kind of get the sense of maybe like kind of like the vibe and the appeal as to what what the brand kind of stands for. Notice the use of different fire emojis, hamburgers. You probably already get the sense just by reading the bio that this is probably going to be the best pub food you've ever had in your entire life, if not close to. You understand what I mean. If we go down here through the news feed, here we have a very clean very clean product shots here of the different items that they carry, and as well as different logos. Notice how the Mama's Boy logo is here in the top right here. We obviously used a transparent file to implement it onto the graphic here, and we've actually utilized that in Canva. Same with this. This was made in Canva. This post right here was made in Canva. When I say that Canva is a phenomenal resource for you to add very clean and concise edits to your news feed, it really does make the difference. So if you scroll down, you can just see that the product shots are just absolutely stellar, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. So that's just one example. We gave away a Toronto Blue Jays thing, which was great. The thing was actually very heavy, and you can just kind of see the overall aesthetic as to how the feed looks. So that sums up our first exercise with digital literacy 101 here. So with that being said, I would now like to open the floor up to any questions. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Just want to make sure I get this back.
I mean, another point, Matt, that I really wanted to highlight before we close up here today is a big thing and a big kind of point of stress for a lot of new business owners is the idea of which platform should I be on, where should I be posting, how should my business come across, and how do I do all of this at the same time and kind of organize this all in one spot to post outwards. And it's kind of the idea for a lot of the time is the idea of quality over quantity. And the truth is, you don't need to be posting on every single platform we talked about today. You don't need to be posting on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and then go on WhatsApp and be interacting with people. And then at the end of the day, you kind of made maybe one post on everything and feel like you've done.
But the more
important thing here is to actually put out very quality posts and get quality engagement on maybe 1 to 3 of these platforms where you're creating a strong connection with your consumer, with your customer, or with guests that you might have. And you're letting them get a glimpse into what your brand is and really feel like they know you. That's the beautiful thing about social media marketing nowadays is you're able to go past one point of a wall originally, which might have just been a billboard 20, 30 years ago, and actually get a little bit inside the mind of the brand owners, the employees, and feel like you're participating in what is happening as the brand rolls out, as opposed to just seeing everything that they're coming at you with.
I noticed that Vicky B had a great question here in the chat. Vicky, could you actually just talk right now and just elaborate? Maybe just we can just talk a little bit more about it, actually. So please, the floor is yours. We would love to have a good discussion about it.
Yeah, sure. What I'm asking is, so say I have like my main brand, but under my brand, I have separate businesses that somewhat fall into the same categories, but are different, but that kind of branch.
Okay.
So they are kind of different categories within it. So for instance, I am an artist,
Yep.
but I also give guided nature walks. And then I also provide merchandise and then separate things from there on, right? So how would I do that? Should I do it separately? Should I have like the nature guiding is something separate completely? Or should I umbrella it underneath my personal name and keep it as
there's a
and have it
that
as one?
Right. That's a very good question. Again, you know, that's something I feel like that I still work on to this day with myself because I do so many random things. But there's a couple different ways that you could go about doing it. One is you could treat your TikTok platform as a platform where you post maybe everything to do with your nature walks. And that could be, it's like, okay, you want to know what Vicky does with the nature walks? You got to go over to TikTok. If you want to see what Vicky does in terms of like her art, you got to go to her Instagram. Everything is separated with the art right there with Instagram. So that's one way that you can divide up everything like that. If you want to market yourself as like this person who does all of these things, is treat all of your social media channels like a TV show. Maybe on every single Monday, you post one piece of content that's related to hiking. Maybe Tuesday is art, Wednesday is so on and so forth, and then you can just kind of keep building and going on from there. So there's a couple different ways that you could go about doing it, but I think either of those two to start might be a good place for you.
And another thing that we should maybe highlight here, just because it's a great term. So Vicky had mentioned that she's umbrellaing her brand, and that's an awesome term that we kind of use a lot of the time and call it either a parent brand or an umbrella brand. And what that is essentially is your large brand, such as Coca-Cola, for example, is going to be the top brand, the parent brand, the owner of a smaller business or a smaller faction of the business. And then you're going to have an entity that is by Coca-Cola. So they don't brand this as such, but for example, you might have ginger ale by Coca-Cola, or when I was using the wrapper example earlier, the company could be called Wrapper, and then a sub-brand or an entity within the brand could be called Snack Bars by Wrapper. So it's a great way to organize different entities, different brands under one title name that helps maintain that brand feeling and the brand connection that you already have with a consumer.
Yeah, great points. I mean, do we have any other questions? Please feel free to talk. The floor is yours. I know we have 1 minute left, and now we understand that people have to go to various Zoom calls. But yeah, please, if anyone wants to, feel free. The floor is yours.
While everyone is just typing away in the chat here too, I just wanted to highlight that Matt and I are here provided as a resource through Digital Main Street and the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center. And we're here anytime to offer free resources and free help in one-on-one situations and consultations such as this, where we can talk about your specific business needs or where you're at and what your goals are in a digital media landscape and how we can help you build towards that. And also just different ideas and different concepts that you might start to think about. So Matt and I will provide our information here in the chat window as well. And please feel free to shoot us a call or an email anytime that you might want to meet again, or even just ask us some questions over emails, because we're a free resource here and we're really happy to connect and meet new people within Niagara Falls.
Yeah, everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in. That concludes Digital Literacy 101. We are going to go into more in-depth topics next time. Our email is provided down below in the chat if anyone wants to connect further for any additional questions. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Our next one is next Wednesday, and then the one after that is the following Wednesday. So there is 2 more. Please feel free to come prepared with any questions or insights you might have that are maybe specific to your business. We would love to connect and go from there. So thank you so much, Umbi. Any final words or?
No, I think that sums it up really well, Matt. Thank you everyone for attending as well. And we're going to be sure to record this and provide it back on our social media channels as well in an email link, so everyone can come back and reference this video if there was any, hopefully, tidbits of information that you found some value from that you want to go back and incorporate into your business plan.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you at the next webinar.